Okay, it is now 2:03, so we're going to get started with the presentation today. I'm also going to be recording this session, so anyone who could not make it or attend can access this video at a later time and review all of the different functions we look at today in Fundly Connect. So for those of you who are on the line today, my name is Dan Wayne, and I'm also joined by Missy Singh. Missy is our Director of Operations at Nonprofit Easy and has been handling all of the hands-on Connect data migrations. So for those organizations who decide that Fundly Connect is a new, fresh platform and want to make a move from hands-on Connect to Fundly Connect, you and Missy are going to be good friends. So just a little bit of a backdrop on how we got here today. Nonprofit Easy is the name of our company, and Fundly is our product line, with Fundly Connect being the volunteer management piece that volunteer centers, hands-on affiliates, and other nonprofits such as United Ways use across the U.S. Fundly Connect is a platform that is really designed to help you manage nonprofit partners and the posting of their nonprofit volunteer opportunities. There are different subscription levels within Fundly Connect, and in today's presentation, we're really going to take a look at two of those subscriptions, one being your nonprofit partner account and the other being the volunteer center account. And we're also going to start with the agency account so you can see initially how we've really improved volunteer management for a lot of nonprofits, especially smaller to mid-sized organizations who are tying into your volunteer center. So I just wanted to start the conversation by taking a look at some of the differentiators and some of the different things that we've been cooking up in the lab with Fundly Connect and how this differentiates from other products in the marketplace. So the first bullet really just talks about a fresh user interface and better navigation for your nonprofit partners. A lot of the feedback we received from volunteer centers and hands-on affiliates was that their agencies just didn't feel empowered. They didn't feel like they really had a good workflow in terms of sending their nonprofit opportunities to your sites and posting those opportunities on your sites. So we've really tried to make it a streamlined effort and a 1, 2, 3 process so that they can post their opportunities and schedule volunteers and begin logging hours for those folks who sign up to the volunteer opportunity. We've also enhanced the volunteer dashboard. So when a volunteer logs into the system, a volunteer is going to have a much nicer calendar, a cleaner picture in terms of what the next steps are with their opportunities, and also an area where they can update their skills and the causes that are interested, as well as recommended opportunities that fit those skills and fit those affinities that they have. We've also empowered team volunteering as well as corporate volunteering, so allowing corporate teams to sign up through the Volunteer Center site and apply to an opportunity as a group. We'll take a look at that a little bit later today. One of the coolest things I think that we're rolling out to the Volunteer Center is the opportunity to create what we call a search widget and provide that search widget to corporate partners and also to the nonprofit agencies that you work with. So you can create widgets in the back end of Fundly Connect that allow you to showcase opportunities on a widget, and you can send that widget to your corporate partners and to your agencies so that it's only showing opportunities that fit their core pillars of their CSR program, or it just shows the agency's opportunities. And then they can put that on their internal website or on some additional site, maybe a volunteer section on their web pages. So we'll be reviewing that. And then the communication module is really sweet. It's something that we've released with what I like to call MailChimp Lite functionality. It basically gives you a constant contact feel or a MailChimp feel directly within the volunteer management system. So giving the agency the ability to communicate with their volunteers and create newsletters as well as different information pieces that are templatized in the system. I'm going to go ahead and just mute everyone on the call. Please, if you have questions, feel free to chat those questions in, and I will do my best to try to answer whatever you have. So the communications module is, it's pretty grandiose in terms of what we've been able to integrate into the back end of the system for all of your nonprofit partners, and it's really a beautiful designed type of functionality and module. We've also made it easy for folks to quick add volunteers into the database. So your agencies can, from the back end of the system, very easily create a new volunteer record in the database. It can be done on the fly, and those agencies will also have the ability to flip between a list view of their opportunities as well as a calendar view of those opportunities. So we've improved the calendar functionality greatly. And then lastly, this is really for everyone. You can integrate your volunteer management system with our CRM. So if you're not using a CRM today, or if any of your nonprofit partners are not using CRM, giving them the ability to actually sync data from their volunteer programs into a donor database so that donation histories and donor profiles are mixed with volunteerism and volunteer history. Okay, and then lastly, we also do offer a crowdfunding platform which integrates into the CRM. So we're really more than just a volunteer management company. We're a full service nonprofit technology services company that has different products that are all tied together and integrate together as one. If you guys will just hold on 1 second, I have a message coming in. Okay. Going on to the next slide here, and I promise I only have 2 slides, so we'll get into the product in just a moment. The product is also built on what we call responsive design. And responsive design, what that means is no matter what device you're using, whether it's an iPhone, an iPad, a computer, the system that you're using, Fundly Connect, is going to show up and be consumed on that device in a way that looks good for the screen size. So I know a lot of folks are using iPads today, and having an iPad is really just a great way to manage volunteers, and it gives you that flexibility to sit in a coffee shop and do work from an iPad and do everything you could do from a computer and make it look nice. So responsive design is kind of our answer to the rise in mobile usage, whether it's cell phone, iPad, or some other tablet. I'll also mention that this product is platform agnostic. So what that means is you can be on a Mac, you can be on an Apple, a PC. It doesn't matter what device you're using or what web browser you're using, although we do have some recommendations in terms of versions that you'll want to take a look at. So being mobile friendly in today's environment is extremely important. And I know that Hands-On Connect and many of the other platforms out there just aren't designed using this responsive design. So we thought about mobile usage and the uptick in that, and really just the ability to have a volunteer or have a nonprofit partner, or you as the volunteer center, access your dashboards and access volunteer management from any device. Okay. I promised that was it in the way of slides. The first thing I want to talk about, since this is a webinar strictly designed for Hands-On Connect partners and hands-on affiliates that are thinking about their volunteer options and technology options, I wanted to bring in Missy Singh into the conversation. So she can talk about what our data migration path looks like if you are a Hands-on Connect customer. We've been migrating Hands-on Connect customers for the past month, and really what we're finding is a few specific things that I think Missy can talk on, and I know a lot of people have burning questions about how a data migration works and really what that involves and who that involves at your organization. So Missy, if you want to just talk for a few minutes about kind of what we've done in the past and how we're doing this in the future, that'd be great.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. So I'm going to start off with, currently you guys have Hands-on Connect that's built on the Salesforce platform. Most of our clients are just using the hands-on piece, so that's a direct migration to Fundly Connect. There's some clients who are tracking additional fields such as membership revenues or additional information on the Salesforce platform, and that's a direct migration into CRM. Okay, so we'll identify the two pieces from the get-go, what goes into Connect, what goes into CRM, and then we have next steps that follow those migrations. Specifically for Hands-on Connect, our steps are going to be, we'll help you get signed up online. I have a list of data files that we will need from you. I'll send you a link on how to get a report with those specific data files. Once the file's over, it's pretty much on my court. I'll review the data files and we'll go over a few frequently asked questions that come up from my previous conversations. Examples as, do you want to migrate your inactive organizations? If so, we can easily do that. There's a field that Hands-on Connect calls past events/campaigns. Do you want to move that forward? Are you guys tracking it? How that field maps into our Fundly Connect. Then there's primary contact, the connection between organizations, primary contacts. So those type of general questions we'll go over. Once that's done, I'll begin the migration process on my end. Normally, once I have the data file and I have the first initial call with you guys to go over the data, it takes us 3 to 5 business days to get the migration complete. While we're working on the migration, I'll help you get started with setting up your website. I'll send you an initial training video that gets you started, and after that we can do a one-on-one training if needed, or go over specific questions as they come up while you're setting up your website to replicate what your previous website looks like. Okay. As that's happening, the last piece of it is your URLs. If you want to maintain the same URL that you have right now, we can totally do that. We can go over the structure, the price structure for that. We'll get training. We'll get a couple training in for you guys, an internal training, as well as we can do webinars for your partner agencies where we're actually driving the webinar and the training for them. And once the migration is completed, we have a go live date for you. I have a couple pieces of communication that I can send to you that will assist your partner agencies and your volunteers to log in, or how to start logging in. So we'll give them a URL. We'll let them know, hey, this is your username, here's your temp password, and here's how you can have access to your Fundly Connect account. Okay. That was a quick flow, but like I said, we'll have an initial call and we'll pretty much go through the detail of that flow.
That's great. Thanks, Missy. And I think the number one thing that we want, as well as obviously your organization wants, is limit the amount of business disruption that this causes for your organization. We want to make sure the migration process happens in an efficient manner, and we also want to make sure that the data fields that you were expecting to see in Fundly Connect from Hands-on Connect really fits kind of how you run your business today. So there's obviously some back and forth with any data migration, and Missy and her team have been very good about helping you understand how data tables might change or how data fields might change from one system to another, because it is a different platform. Fundly Connect is, it has its own unique structure, and it's something that we cover in that data migration process and confirm with you once we've migrated your data. Sometimes there are edits that have to be made, or there's some fields that maybe don't look exactly how you want them. So we can always go back and make changes after the fact until you're happy. The best part about this whole process is it is a free process for Hands-On Connect customers to migrate from Hands-On Connect to Fundly Connect. Now, the last piece that I'll just cover here is if you do have a need for CRM, and many hands-on affiliates do have a need for CRM, which is more donor management related and includes other modules that are not related to volunteer management specifically. That will be something we'll need to talk about as well. So at times there could be two separate migrations happening at once. There could be the Hands-On Connect migration to Fundly Connect, which is all of your volunteer data. And then if you're tracking donor data or other organizational information, membership information, as Missy mentioned, that will actually flow over to the CRM. So there are two products we're talking about here. Today we're going to focus on strictly Fundly Connect, which is what most volunteer centers are using today. And what you're looking at on your screen here is the process in terms of us sending an email to your partners or you sending an email to your partners to inform them of the change that's going on and how to access Fundly Connect for the first time. The beauty about this migration is that you don't have to change usernames if you're a partner organization. You don't have to change usernames if you're a volunteer. Those are going to stay the same across the platform. And what we'll do is simply send out a temporary password, and that person can then change that password once they log in for the first time. Okay, so that's a quick overview of how the data migration process works. We obviously will come up with a timeline with you. There's a lot of folks on this call that are probably thinking about contract renewals at the end of March or sooner, or maybe a little bit later. So we just want to make sure that we have timelines in order and milestones written out so that you feel comfortable with the migration and, again, limit the business disruption that will occur in terms of keeping your current site up until the new site is live. So let's switch gears and let's focus on product. I want to get into Fundly Connect and showcase the functionality that this offers from a few different perspectives today. I want to look at it from the volunteer center perspective and how you manage volunteer opportunities for your partner agencies as well as your own volunteer opportunities. But I also want to look at how an agency posts to your volunteer center. And I want to do that first because I think it leads to a better flow in terms of your partner agency creating opportunities, the ease of use at which they do that, and then them posting that volunteer opportunity to your site. So this is a sample Fundly Connect volunteer center site. And you can see there's some featured opportunities here down the right-hand side. We also have a search window here that allows us to search for volunteer opportunities. This is a very generic site. It's just a demo account. So I'm not going to have a whole lot of information on my page about who I am as an organization. I do have some menu items listed here at the top of the screen. So we'll get into those in just a second. And you'll notice my list of opportunities that are listed on my page. I can also show an advanced search and fill out some parameters that you guys should be familiar with. So availability being one of those, who I'd like to serve with. These are all of my partner organizations that have partnered with me. So I can sort by organization or skill set or activity type, as long as who would you like to serve. So maybe I'm a corporate team and I want to serve children. So I could sort by opportunities that are only related to children. So depending on your tenants and depending on what your affinities are, obviously you can sort these by a number of different ways. So these search settings or search parameters, allow you to whittle down the total list of opportunities that are on your site. You can also search by date or by virtual opportunity. A virtual opportunity just means you can do it from home. So maybe it's an opportunity such as social media help. Maybe your nonprofit needs some social media help. Well, you would create a virtual opportunity and post that to the Volunteer Center site here. We also have a list of the partner organizations. As you can see, Flagler has not updated their image, but Freebie has. So these are two different nonprofits in and around my volunteer center that have been posting opportunities, and Flagler has not yet posted any, whereas this nonprofit has posted 7 opportunities. So at any point, I can click on the organization and get more information about what they do, who the contact is, reach out to the contact, or view their opportunities. So my search criteria now includes just the organization that I want to search. With teams, I'll start with teams and then we'll get into volunteers. We have a team sign up function on the site. So I'm not going to go through the entire process at this point. I have some teams already created, but here I have the ability to type in an email or sign up using social media and generate a username and password and fill out my team information. So team captain information, you have to have a team captain for a team. So this would be the person actually going in to sign up for the team. And then you'll also notice this section here that says corporate team. We've introduced corporate team functionality into the system where you can add your company name, your company website, and obviously your corporate team is going to have some specific issue areas and causes, which is step 2, that they can select from and that they're interested in. So we'll get into some of this a little bit later in the back end, but just understand that corporate team sign up as well as individual sign up is now available from our site. And then obviously a volunteer who comes to the site would want to register for Fundly Connect. Each volunteer and each nonprofit organization is going to have a login to the system. Now, there will be some cases when maybe you have an older volunteer that doesn't want to have an online account and they just don't really care about having the ability to sign up for something online and you do it all in the back end. Well, that's certainly possible as well, and I'll show you that once we get into the tool. So this is really the front end of the tool. You decide what fields you capture on volunteer sign up. So there are a number of things that we can configure from the volunteer center perspective as well as from the agency or the partner perspective. We've also, I think, done a revamp of the calendar for you. I know the calendar was a big issue for a lot of volunteer centers and a lot of nonprofits who were using a public portal to post their opportunities. And we've made it pretty clear-cut, I think, in terms of how you view opportunities. Do you want to filter off of recurring or ongoing or one-time opportunities? So if you look for one-time opportunities this week, I don't have any. But if I look at ongoing and recurring, it's going to show me more or less. We've also provided the ability to filter by opportunity or by training. So training is a prerequisite to actually volunteering for the opportunity. So if I just want to look at the volunteer opportunities, I can do that as well. I can then select the date, or I can look at the month view and select the date that interests me. This is from 8 to 12 on the 19th. And I can pull up that opportunity to see what that looks like and decide whether or not I want to actually apply for the opportunity. So this is a festival garbage cleanup opportunity, and there's different schedules where this is occurring. There's different venues where it occurs, so multi-location or multi-venue, as well as multi-shifts from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and from 12:05 to 8 p.m. So there's a nice visualization and a very clean UI in terms of posting opportunities and applying for opportunities. When you go to apply for an opportunity, you need to actually sign in as a volunteer. So let's forego this right now. Everyone who applies to an opportunity online will need to have a volunteer profile and will also receive a volunteer dashboard. So we will log in and look at the volunteer perspective a little bit later in the demo. What I'm going to do now is take a look at what a free agency account looks like. So a nonprofit partner who's posting to your site and the functionality that exists for a free agency. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit, and I'll be zooming in and zooming out to make screens larger and smaller, just to show you how things look and how you can just receive more information on your screen as you zoom in and zoom out. But this is what it looks like when you log into the back end of the free agency account. You have different pipelines of active volunteers and active teams and active opportunities. So each of your partners will see these three same blocks. And if I click on one of these blocks, that will immediately take me to the list of individuals or the team that makes up the block. So when I click on volunteers, that takes me to a list of all of my volunteers. You'll notice I use variations of my name oftentimes and variations of my email when I create a lot of these volunteers. So from this screen, for instance, you can come in here and reset the volunteer password or very quickly assign them to a volunteer opportunity that exists today in your system. I can also communicate to all of these volunteers with the click of a button. So if I click communicate to all, it's going to select all of the volunteers that show up on my screen, the 23 records that show up on my screen, and hit apply. And this will take me into the communication portion of the product. So communication is something we will cover, and that's listed here. When I pull open the main menu, which is this green button, I have Communication Center, Manage Volunteers, Opportunities, and some different system configurations as well as reports. So the navigation of the tool is really upper right for main menu, username for account information and support and logging out. Associations shows you the volunteer centers that you're associated to. And then you have quick add buttons at the top of your screen. So I can very quickly search the database for a volunteer, open an advanced search, add a volunteer to the system, add two different types of opportunities to the system, which I think is really going to help a lot of your partners in terms of understanding what needs to be done in order to get their opportunity to your site and leveraging the fact that you have an easy to use system and you have a system that really allows them to decide on how much information they want to flow to your volunteer center site. And then I have adding hours for an opportunity or for an individual. When I click on the person, this shows me the latest individuals I've been looking at. So teams as well as individuals. I'll click on one of these individuals to showcase what an individual looks like. And this is what a volunteer record might look like. You have his communication preferences listed in the upper left-hand side of the screen. The send email communication preference will always be yes if the person has applied through your site online or through the volunteer center site online. You have a dashboard summary of the number of hours that they've worked as well as the opportunities that they are currently working, any orientations or trainings that they currently have ongoing, and then any opportunities that they've been scheduled for or that you want to actually assign them to. You have a list of all of your opportunities here where you can very quickly just assign the here to that opportunity. So there's a number of ways to do volunteer assignment as well as logging hours. I could actually, let's assign him to our garbage cleanup effort. And now you can see we have an opportunity for here, the number of hours he's worked, as well as the next step for this person. So when you go to schedule for him, you need to select the venue and the shift and the position that he's going to fill. Before we get into this, let's actually go ahead and create an opportunity. So I just wanted to show you from the volunteer record, you can do a lot of these next steps in terms of volunteer management. You also have additional information such as his email and phone number, so demographic details, programs that he has volunteered with, the causes and skills that he's interested in. He filled these out online. And then you also have custom data sets or volunteer questions, as they're often referred to. This gives me the ability to basically edit the individual as well. So I have different information on here that I can select from. If I need to add information, I do that from here. If I need to take away skills or add new skill sets that he has or causes that he's interested in, I can do that from here. If you actually add a volunteer from the back end of the system, so this is not someone who signs up online, what you can do is send an account setup link to the volunteer. So when you click that, it's going to send them an email with a temp password and username that they can use to log into the system. So an email is required in order to send them that account setup link. And you just come in here and insert their email, and they would receive an email with a temp password as well as a link to actually sign in to your public site or to the Volunteer Center public site, since I'm looking at this from an agency perspective. Okay, so getting volunteers into the system, very easy. Adding hours for a volunteer, very quick and easy to get to. You also have what we call breadcrumbs in the software world, and breadcrumbs is simply where you've been in the software. It's the last 10 steps you've made in the software. Okay, so you can see I was creating or looking at Mac Brown's volunteer profile before, and I can really easily get back to Mac Brown from there. So let's start with configuring the tool. We looked at the dashboard, and I'll pull it up one more time so you can see. Again, if I click on any of these blocks, it's going to take me to that section within the software. So if I click on 11 active opportunities, it's going to take me to my 11 active opportunities. You can see I have 5 inactive opportunities. Before we get that far, let's look at configurations in the system. A nonprofit partner has the ability to configure their tool in order to post opportunities that fit certain criteria. So activity types, age groups required, age groups served, causes, population served, skills. These 6 are really basic configurations that your partners will need to do. It takes maybe about 3 minutes to complete these. For instance, activity types, you're just adding a type of activity for volunteerism. So I'll call this, trying to think of a good activity. We'll just call it sports and rec. It's just field entry, and it allows them to select sports and rec now, which I already had in the system, it looks like. It allows them to add sports and rec as an activity type for their volunteer opportunity. So I can access the rest of my configurations along the left-hand side. If I go to skills, again, you can add certain skill sets as well as sub-skill sets. So a parent skill might be hospital administration. So I have a parent skill called hospital administration, and now I have patient support as one of my child skills. Oops, so I already added it. Sometimes you get these error messages that come up if you have a skill set and you click off and you're trying to close out a window. So I'll just add one more. Let's call it hospice care. So now I have my hospital administration skill set, which is the parent, and patient support and hospice care underneath. So I'm not going to go through all of those. Age groups required obviously looks at who you're looking for. Age group served looks at the type of person that you're helping, whether it's a child or an adult or a senior citizen. Let's take a look at custom data sets, however. This is a unique feature. I know that asking your volunteers specific questions on volunteer applications is something that an agency would want to do. So I have different custom sets in my database. I have additional questions, I have additional volunteer information, I have demographic information. Let's go ahead and create a new one. I could go in and edit any of these and take a look at them, but let's start by adding a new data set. And we'll call this required volunteer specifics or history, let's say. Describe what the data set is all about. And then you have this section that says applicable to. Now what this means is if you select volunteer, this is going to be a data set with questions that the volunteer will have to sign up. Excuse me. If you select volunteer for the free account, so for the partner organization, it's basically a back office function. So if I select volunteer, what you can do from the back office is fill out information about the person's volunteer history. If you select opportunity, and let me just save this data set. So we have our required volunteer history set. Now we need to add fields to the volunteer history. And you can see there's different types of fields that are offered for the field that rolls up to the data set. So we'll make this a number. How many nonprofits have you worked with? You can make it a required field, or you can hit staff use only. So I'll try to explain this again. The applicable to section, when selecting opportunity, means that this question is a question you can ask a volunteer or require a volunteer to fill out on their application form when they sign up for your partner opportunity on the Volunteer Center site. When you click volunteer, it's basically a back office function for the nonprofit partner. Okay, so opportunity, again, this forces the volunteer who's applying to the opportunity that you create to answer questions or gives them the option of answering questions. So let's fill out a few more fields and then save this. Now I've added a yes or no field. Okay, so I'm just going to add a few options and then save the field. You can see I'm making some of these fields required. Again, as the nonprofit partner in a free account, I'm creating opportunity data sets, which will in turn allow me to ask these questions on application forms for certain opportunities. So yes or no, do you work with children on a daily basis? How many nonprofits have you worked with? Have you worked with? I misspelled that there. That's a number. And then how many hours do you volunteer a month is a drop-down choice. So we're utilizing 3 different field types for 3 different fields that roll up to your required volunteer history. My data set has now been saved successfully, and let's go ahead and put this into action since it's relevant right now. I'm going to go ahead and switch from configurations to opportunities. And for those of you wondering, before we actually create an opportunity, I have a partner guide. So we have a Fundly Connect playbook, which reviews a lot of this information. So I've put together different slides that show how to do each specific function in the software step by step so that your partners from day one can hit the ground running or can turn to this if they have questions about how to post opportunities or create a custom data set, for instance. So that's something that is a leave behind when you sign on to Fundly Connect is we try to empower you by giving you a guide that you can send to your agencies. As Missy mentioned earlier, we also do webinars for partners so that they use the system effectively. And we also can schedule one-on-one trainings as well as group trainings, which we really put on a I think it's a weekly basis now. We have an open phone line for people to call in and ask questions. We provide answers or support. And then there's paid training, which is more tailored to your organization. So again, I've navigated to opportunities and our opportunities. That pulls a list of all of our volunteer opportunities. I can sort that list by opportunity name or by opportunity type and filter that list. This is, again, the list view of all of my active opportunities. I can also click calendar view. And a calendar view is pretty nice. It shows you a day, week, month calendar of what your nonprofit's upcoming opportunities look like. So here I'm looking at the volunteer opportunity, step 1, 2, 3. But if I want to look at festival garbage cleanup for the month, I can see here I have, and this is more of an advanced opportunity, but I have a main stage location, I have a west stage location, I have the morning shift, I also have an afternoon shift, and I can even schedule volunteers directly from the calendar, assign a volunteer, go through the scheduling process or see which volunteers are currently signed up for that day and for the certain positions that that opportunity offers. So the list view and the calendar view are toggle, so back and forth you can go. I generally prefer the list view to do my volunteer management, but the calendar view gives you more of a date view that is visual. So let's go ahead and add a basic opportunity. This is what I'd say 50 to 75% of your partner agencies are going to need to be doing. And understand that posting opportunities is the same for the volunteer center as it is for your partners. We've included the same functionality. We've given more functionality to the nonprofit partners after doing a lot of research and getting feedback from volunteer centers. They wanted their partners to have the flexibility with scheduling and shifts and positions, but we've also kept it simple by offering the basic opportunity option. So there's basic and there's advanced. It's a 3-step process. Now there are certain things like in requirements that we need to look at. There's settings and requirements that can take a little bit of time and understanding, but really it's just 3 steps. Let's go ahead and create a new opportunity. Okay, the opportunity name is Hospice Help, and they're looking for greeters. Now I could take greeters out of the opportunity name if I wanted and create that as a position. You need to select who the opportunity owner is. These will be certain people at the nonprofit partner who own the opportunity. If I select virtual, it takes away a location because it's virtual. We don't need to show up somewhere. And I can edit the location from here. So a basic opportunity has one location. Okay, so I can put in a location, and this map will actually showcase where the location is. You hit save. We now have a location called the Atlanta Health Hospice. Again, it's only one location for a basic opportunity. Let's go ahead and add our details in. This is for okay. So now it's time to select our positions. Volunteer is the default position, but you can add a position or you can X the volunteer position and just add a new one. We'll call this greeter. You can even put an hourly value to a position so that when it comes time to report, you can say, hey, the impact that we had was, 5,000 volunteer hours, and if you average the hourly value for those workers at $12 an hour, they contributed $60,000 to the community. So you can have multi-positions. You could have a greeter, and you could also have floor, it's called floor leader. Okay, most are just going to have the generic position of volunteer. I'm just showing that you can create different positions. And again, this is pretty consistent across the board. So what you create as your own volunteer opportunities is going to look very similar to this. So I'm spending a little bit more time going through this. Now on basic opportunities, you have one-time opportunities, which are a specific date, or you have ongoing opportunities, which can be ongoing each day for, let's say, 3 months. So from 2/24 to 5/24, this opportunity is going to occur. And it's a morning shift, let's say. We need greeters and we need floor leaders in the morning. And it's from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. So it's a 3-hour shift. If you click flexible time, there's really no start and end time for that. Hit save and next and go on to step 2. Now this is a little bit more advanced. This is probably the biggest learning curve piece of the system when posting opportunities, but the nice thing is it gives you options. So the first thing to look at is, okay, we're under requirements, and what are the keywords for this opportunity? Well, it's the name of our organization, and then it's also the first position that we entered. You can add other keywords to this, like hospice. Right, so you can add these search keywords. What this is doing is pushing this to the Volunteer Center site once you fill all this out. So say health and wellness. The skill sets needed are hospital care, health care. The activity type is caring for people. You also have who will be benefited from this opportunity. You don't have to fill all this out. It's just there if you want to select who benefits, who the population is we're serving, does it affect male or females. And then you have who's this appropriate for. This is big for a lot of organizations. Well, we don't want children. We want seniors and adults for this. We also want groups and teams to be able to apply to this opportunity. One of the settings underneath groups and teams is, can a team member, so let's say you have a team of 10, are those team members' information, their email address and their names required at the time of sign up when the volunteer goes to sign up? So when the team leader actually goes to apply, do you have to put in their information or not? So a lot of times maybe a corporate team is coming in and it's a group of CPAs from Delta Airlines, for instance, and they don't know who's going to be able to make it, but they say they've got 10. You would want this off in that case because you don't know who's going to be attending at the time of application. And just give me 1 second. I'm going to plug in my charger so that we don't lose juice here. Okay. We also have the ability to add an application form. So I have different application forms here that are listed. Here I have a hospital greeter help form. I can also add my own form directly from this stage and call it hospice care application. Add fields. Let's say, okay, these are what we want to track when the volunteer signs up for the opportunity. Notice you have custom data sets listed here. These are really where the other questions we created earlier come into play. So we want name and email and those custom data sets. The application form has saved successfully, and then we can now close the screen or hit the X button. I'm going to refresh my screen. Sometimes the form needs a refresh for it to show up when you've created it on the fly like that. And there it is. You can also create those forms prior. Under opportunities, you have design application form, so you can get that out of the way initially if you have 1 or 2 generic forms that you want people filling out. You probably wouldn't want to have 10 different types of forms. We're going to skip over auto checkout type. This is not available to the free version, or it's not really widely used by the free version. But what this relates to is actually auto logging and auto checking in and checking out volunteers using a kiosk style module within Fundly Connect. So that's a product we offer called Time It, and basically you can configure when you want to automatically log hours for people if they check in to an opportunity. So they basically punch in their phone number and they can check in, and this will actually check them out at the end of the shift or at the end of their scheduled volunteer time or after 4, 5, 6, 7 hours. This last setting, auto log hours when marked as attended, I generally always keep on. What this means is that if you mark someone as attended in your attendance section once you have some volunteers for this, that's going to automatically calculate the number of hours and apply those hours to the opportunity so you don't have to go in and log hours. So if my shift is 4 hours and I have this marked and I check the person in or I mark them as attended, it's going to auto log those 4 hours for that person. These settings here on the left, these 4 settings, are somewhat self-explanatory. The volunteer can schedule for this opportunity. If you turn that on, you basically have the ability to give the volunteer the opportunity to schedule their own time and their own shift. If you have volunteer can log hours turned on, that means they can actually go into their dashboard and log hours for that opportunity. Approval required for volunteer application is a common one. If you have to approve that application form, that hospice care application form, and the volunteer details before they can actually work the opportunity, turn that on. So we'll take a look at what that looks like in just a second. And then you have orientations and trainings. So if you turn that on, it's going to show you the trainings you've created in the past and allow you to schedule a training before that person can volunteer at the opportunity. I'm going to keep that off for now just to move things along. And then at least one cause needs to be selected. So my cause is health and welfare. It's now time to publish to the Volunteer Center. In Fundly Connect, you can associate to multiple volunteer centers if you're a volunteer. So if I am a volunteer in New York City and I am volunteering with Long Island Volunteer Center, as well as Manhattan Volunteer Center, as well as Brooklyn Volunteer Center, I can actually tie into all of those volunteer centers here if they're using Fundly Connect. So most are just going to have one volunteer center that they associate to. I'd say 90% of the users will just associate to their regional hands-on affiliate or the regional volunteer center. But just understand, if there are multiple centers in your area, they can publish to different action centers, as we call them. So the partner simply hits publish in the lower right. They select the volunteer center, and you can see the posting has been accepted and it's now published on the VFW site. This is just a name I've used for one of my volunteer centers. So with that being said, let's now flip screens. And I need to open up a new browser since I'm logged in. So this is our VFW Volunteer Center site I'm going back to. And what we should see now is our hospice help greeters listed on the site. And all the information related to the opportunity is now listed here. Okay? So we're not going to take that any further. I want to stick with the free agency account for now. So let's log back into the free agency. And let's now take a look at communications. So remember, when we searched our database, we did an advanced search. So let's hit search here, or what we could do is just go to our dashboard and click on active volunteers. So this will pull up 23 of our active volunteers. And I want to show you a few different ways you can communicate with volunteers. So again, this is a nonprofit agency partner. The communication center is where they would go to create communications, or they can select their volunteer list and say, hey, I want to select all those volunteers, communicate to all those volunteers, hit apply, and what this will do is open up a new communication for the nonprofit. Okay, so I'm just filling out my sender information, the subject. We need your support for volunteer positions as a subject. Recipients type is always going to be volunteer. There's no other type of record in Fundly Connect that you can track other than volunteer. If you have other types of, or if the agency has other types of contact types that they need to track, that would be more of a Fundly CRM function. And we would work with the organization or work with you to help them get set up on Fundly CRM. So it's always going to be volunteer for the recipient's type. And then what we've done is we've created templates in the system. This is a pretty cool feature. I'm not sure of any other system that allows you to create robust templates like this. So it's basically MailChimp. It's Mandrill, which is the back end of MailChimp, built into the application. So I can select a newsletter template and communicate with my volunteers once I create my template. So it'll take a few seconds to load this, but This template really provides flexibility for the nonprofit to brand this as theirs and to send out a newsletter or send out a communication that looks really nice and is probably an upgrade for a lot of these folks in terms of what they're using today. I mean, some of them don't really have a great marketing strategy or marketing automation strategy. So they can come in here, they can add widgets. It's a drag and drop type thing where they can select colors. It's kind of an ugly color, but that's okay. And then obviously do things like upload their logo and make this their own, make this their communication template. The recommended size is 150 by 60, so this is not going to be good, but let's see what it looks like. So kind of an ugly logo there, but you get the picture. You'd upload your logo, and then let's actually do it one more time. We'll do a different logo. Just hit save. There we go. So that's a decent looking logo. You could change the image height, width, length, and then obviously include different text about your volunteer program, pictures of people volunteering, links to certain volunteer opportunities right here, or to information about the volunteer program. You then need to title the communication, give it a code, and we've now named our newsletter General Newsletter. Okay, so that's creating a template. There's obviously more to it than that to make it look nice, but you get the idea. It's a really nice feature that we had been gunning for a while and put a lot of work into to get a full communication program built into really a free account. We're giving them a free e-communication tool, which is pretty huge. You also have attachments, so if you want to put pictures of, I don't know, people volunteering, you can do that. Or if you want to put a document there, you can do that. And there's my attachment. Hit save and proceed. I can also have different templates, so you can save different templates there. And now it's time to select who I want this to go to. Well, we're giving it to everyone that has an email, and we're giving it to everyone who has a communication preference turned on for email, and anytime there's an email that exists for the record. So if I hit search, you can see there's 8 recipients that meet that criteria, the default criteria. I can see who those people are, or I can further refine this and say, hey, I'm looking for people that are white, black, Japanese, Chinese. I'm looking for people that have volunteered more than 5 hours a month on that custom data set, or I'm just looking for something simple like people in Atlanta. You can add additional fields, so people in Atlanta who are female, right? I'm just going to do people in Atlanta since I don't have a ton of volunteers in my database. And I have 2. So my 2 recipients are now Dan and Nahir. I can add other recipients one by one, hit save and proceed. Keep in mind, a lot of this functionality is, again, true for the volunteer center as well. So I'm taking a lot of time to show this because this is what you will have in your system as well. There's just some additional capabilities that you're going to have as a volunteer center. So send a test email. Let's go ahead and send Dan at Fundly a test email. And the test email was sent. I should get that in just a second. And now we hit send. So I can send it right now or send it on a certain day and time. 9 a.m. on February 25th. What that takes us to is our communication history. So we need your support or a new system. Let's see. We need your support for volunteer positions. 225 is when it's scheduled. You can see the status is pending. if you have a completed newsletter and you click on the arrow here and select View Summary, we've also provided you email metrics in the back end of the system. So you can see who's opened the email. I have 14 total opens. Dan opened at 8 and Sean opened at 6. I can sort this by who it was sent to. So we really give you a nice email platform within the system to send your communications and preview what was sent and just check in on who's bouncing or what's bouncing. So here was another one I sent a while back. So we covered how to post. We also covered communications. We covered some configurations in the dashboard. Let's go ahead and look at our opportunities one more time. We've got about 20 minutes left for this webinar, and then we're going to take some questions at the end. All right, so let's talk about volunteer management. We've posted our opportunity, and that opportunity was called Hospice Care Greeters. You can see we don't have any volunteers that have signed up for that opportunity yet. So let's, as the volunteer, sign up for this opportunity. Okay, we're on the Hospice Help Greeters opportunity. This looks really good. Let's go ahead and apply for the opportunity. When I click apply on the Volunteer Center site, it asks me for my username and password. I hit enter. Sorry about that. Let me go back. What it's requiring me to do is sign in as Mike Wayne, who already has an account. So he's a volunteer who has signed up for an account on your hands-on Fundly Connect site. And you'll notice now with Hospice Help Greeters, there's an additional information section. This is the required information and the custom data sets that we required him to fill out. I've worked with 10 nonprofits before, and I volunteer 5 to 10 hours a month, right? So it automatically inputs his name and email because he has a record and he had to sign up using name and email. So the system's smart enough to import that from his profile. And let's hit save and next. It's time to submit the application, and as you can see, the next step is to view the opportunity from your dashboard as the volunteer. You have social sharing. This is turned off right now for my demo account, so I'm not gonna do that. But you can post this to Facebook that you are now volunteering, or to Google+. And you can see your application has been submitted. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just open up my dashboard as a volunteer very quickly. Since I signed in as Mike, who's a volunteer, this is what the new volunteer dashboard is going to look like. You have how many hours you've logged, opportunities you've worked, and any opportunities pending approval. So one of the settings we looked at earlier in the opportunity creation was whether or not opportunity approval is required for the opportunity. As you scroll down here, you can see Hospice Help Greeters. The next step on this is it's pending approval. So I can't do anything yet because it's pending approval. Some of these other things, you can see scheduling. I'm not allowed to schedule for that opportunity. That's another setting. Whereas in this case, I can actually log my own hours. So there's settings in the tool which we looked at when you create your opportunity that allow the volunteer to schedule if you require that or if you want that, or log their own hours. But in this case, Hospice Help Greeters is pending approval. You also have recommended opportunities for the volunteer based on his search preferences. So in his account, he has a dashboard and he also has search preferences. These search preferences filled out here will effectively showcase certain opportunities on the recommended opportunities dashboard. So if he's only available Monday and Friday morning and Friday evening, and he saves that, what will happen is when he goes back to his dashboard, the recommended opportunities will only show opportunities that fit that description. And as you can see here, it's changed what has come up on my recommended opportunities. Again, some of this is test data, so it looks kind of ugly, but recommended opportunities will show different organization opportunities from your volunteer center website that fit his affinities. So you can send an email to the coordinator here as well if something doesn't seem right, and that'll automatically hit the coordinator's inbox. You can also see what nonprofits and volunteer centers I'm associated with. So I'm associated with that free agency account. Let's see here. So this should show the custom data sets that he filled out earlier. I'll have to look into why it's not showing that, but he can add associations here as well. He can select organizations from a drop-down of different volunteer centers in and around the area. Finally, he has a team dashboard. And this team dashboard is when he applies for opportunities as a team. So he can toggle back and forth between different teams if he has different teams and see what the summary of his team volunteering is. He can also manage his team members by adding new team members, sending them emails, getting them new accounts, and creating users for those team members, creating Fundly Connect users for those people. He's also going to have a volunteer calendar. So making it easy to see what he's got coming up on his plate. Well, here are the different volunteer opportunities that he has coming up. He can look at this from a week or a month perspective or sort it by opportunity. In this case, the opportunity allows him to log hours. So again, I can log my own hours. That's not a setting that everyone wants. So that would not be available if the nonprofit or you as the volunteer center created an opportunity that did not allow for that. Okay, let's go back to the, I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but let's go back to the agency account. I'm going to go ahead and log out of Mike. Okay, so we're back in the nonprofit agency partners account. We've created an opportunity. I just want to show you what advanced opportunity creation looks like very quickly, and then we'll take a look at the volunteer center account and what occurs when you have those people signing up. Privileged. I can never spell it right. There we go. Okay, so same thing, go through your process. In this case, it's an advanced opportunity, so we can add multi-locations. And you'll notice I just got an email from the system. It says, "Dear organization name, please review the volunteer who has just signed up for your opportunity." So you can actually go in and review the opportunity or review the application that Mike just submitted right here. So I just wanted to show that real quick. All right, so in this case, we're just going to have one position, two locations. Again, I'm going to fly through requirements since we just went through that. You always want to put the, let's see. Well, if you don't want the volunteer to be able to log hours or schedule for the opportunity, you generally want to turn those off if you want to schedule them and log their hours. Again, approval required, we can keep that on, and then let's go ahead and just save and next. Now this is the advanced opportunity, scheduling and shift. That's the next step that kind of makes this more of an advanced opportunity. Remember, we have multi-location, so I can do this as a weekly, monthly, ongoing. Let's do a weekly every Monday from 224 to 32. Probably want to go a little bit longer than that. Let's go to May. Okay, you have date exceptions if you're not going to be offering that opportunity at some point. And then let's save the schedule. And this is for the default location. Now it's time to create our shift. It's every Monday, so go ahead and select Mondays. And the shift starts at 9 a.m. and it ends at noon. Here's how many volunteers we require. We have 5 as our requirement. I'm going to hit save and add new. We also have an afternoon shift from noon to 4. And we require 2. So what we're doing is we're creating 2 shifts for the default location, and now I can go in and create a shift for new site headquarters. Now this happens every Thursday and the first Friday of each month, so we're getting more and more complex here. Most of your partners are not going to be doing this level of volunteer configuring, but again, it's there. So I would recommend telling your partners that the basic opportunity is generally what they want to do, unless they are comfortable using the system and feel like they have a need for this, right? If you have multi-locations or multi-schedules or oddly occurring opportunities. All right, so I'm going to stop there in terms of scheduling, because you can see how much or how in depth you can get here. Scheduling for new site headquarters, scheduling for the default location, scheduling different dates, occurring on different times, recurring weekly, having different shift times, having different volunteer capacity levels. So let's continue on and then publish. So we just published this to the public site once again. And now let's go back into our opportunities and let's just take a look at the one we already signed up for. That was the hospice help greeters. Okay, you'll notice we have one volunteer that is awaiting approval. We had approval turned on for this opportunity. So if I click on that one, you can see it's Mike, and we have the ability here to approve or reject the applicant. Now, when we click approve, it says, hey, there's an application form associated to the opportunity. Do you want to review it? Let's say yes. This is what he filled out online, as you remember. And we say save and approve. So everything looks good. He checks out. He's got the skill set we need. And now there's no more pending volunteers. If I go back to my volunteer opportunities and I look at hospice help greeters, Now I have one volunteer in the volunteer section. He's no longer awaiting approval. So I can either click on the opportunity here or click on the number 1. I'll click on the opportunity. And this takes me into my volunteer management. So Mike Wayne is in the process of being scheduled for this hospice help greeters opportunity. So I click scheduling and I tell the system when he wants to come in. He's coming to the Atlanta Health Hospice in the morning. He's going to be a floor leader. And remember, this is an ongoing opportunity. So select the date. Okay, well, it's one day that he's coming in. So I'll say 224 to 224. And he's coming in from 7 to 10. So I'll hit save. You could add an additional schedule for him if you wanted for a future date, but let's just go ahead and keep it at 1. And now the next step is to log hours. So if I click log hours, you select the assignment, the one we just created, and you can tell it, hey, he was there for 3 hours, and whatever description you want, it can just be anything. And you hit save and close. That's one option to log his hours, or the other option is to track his attendance. Remember, we scheduled it for 224. If I click get attendees, it's going to show me Mike. If I clicked 225, you can see no records are found. So you need to select the date that you're trying to check in attendees. This is the same thing as doing logging hours that we just looked at, except you're checking in folks as opposed to just logging their hours manually. Remember that setting we set up in the opportunity, auto log hours upon check-in. So I could either say he didn't show up or he checked in. So the attendance has been updated. He's now listed as attended, as you can see there, for the morning shift for the Atlanta Health Hospice location, and he's a floor leader. When I go back to the Manage Volunteers section, you can see the hours volunteered automatically calculated. Anytime you see a green button, you can get in deeper into the system, and you can see here, here are the hours that he volunteered. It auto-checked him in. It auto-logged those hours. Again, Manage Volunteers is one way where you can log hours, select the assignment, log the hours, or attendance, which is really nice because let's go ahead and open up one more. Let's say March 4th, get attendees. Well, maybe that was a bad date. Let's say I'm striking out here. Maybe I don't have anyone signed up for these dates. Again, this is for hospice help. Let me go back and just show you one other. Let's go into festival garbage cleanup. I have 12 volunteers and 47 hours confirmed. This is an ongoing weekly opportunity. If I go into attendance and I select the date, you can see I have individual volunteers who have signed up. Some of them showed up, some of them did not. I have a team here, Delta CPAs, where they were not required to put in their team member information. And then I have another team called the Nonprofit Easy Developers, and you can see the different individuals who make up that team. I also have another team called the Yo Pros that I can check in. Right, and that automatically checks in the entire team. So in a nutshell, that is how the agency platform works, and we've made it really easy. We've made it quick. We've made it easy for them to get reports out in terms of looking at opportunity reports and attendance, looking at hours by opportunity or volunteer reports. I can very quickly execute reports from the system. These are default out-of-the-box reports. Right? And here I have all of my different opportunities, the start date, the end date, the number of hours that were volunteered, I can schedule reports to hit my inbox on a certain date. So this will update on a weekly basis, and I can have this send to me in a PDF every single week with a password if I want it on a weekly basis, scheduled every week on every Monday morning. It's going to come in my inbox at 7 a.m. So you can schedule reports to update and hit your inbox. You can look at volunteer reports. Who are all my volunteers? Well, here they are. Let's execute the report. In about 2 seconds, you'll have a list of who those individuals are. I'm going to not include any filters and get my list. So here's all my volunteers. I could have added some additional columns here. So name, age, gender, phone, etc. When they joined. So we've got about 2 minutes left. I want to ask if anyone has any questions right now. If you do, feel free to chat or raise your hand in the GoToMeeting, and I'll do my best to answer any questions that you may have. Those were, again, that was the nonprofit account. This is the Volunteer Center account. I'm going to continue until I see any questions, and then we'll end the call. But very similar to the nonprofit agency account is the Volunteer Center account. The difference is that you have some added functionality. You have the ability to track partner opportunities and actually post on behalf of your volunteer partners. So if you have some lazy nonprofits that don't post opportunities and they want you to do it, you can do that here. You also have the ability to add organizations. So these are organizations. So I can add volunteers or organizations since you're working with nonprofit partners. The last thing I'll show, because we're out of time, is what we call a volunteer search widget. A volunteer search widget allows you to create widgets for all of your partners as well as for corporate partners so that they can post specific volunteer opportunities on their websites or on an intranet site, maybe if they're a corporate program. It's very cool because what this does is it empowers people to find your site from their site, to find the Volunteer Center site from their nonprofit site or from their corporate site. So I'll name this American Airlines Volunteers. And I'll put in let's just put in a quick logo. What you do is you select your build criteria. Maybe American Airlines only wants to work with a certain organization. They just want to volunteer with a hospital in town. Or maybe they want to work on a certain program that you offer. So programs is something else we didn't have time to cover today. But you could select a program like a holiday helpers program or a tax assistance program. That will funnel all of those opportunities that roll up to that program onto this widget. Or maybe they have some core CSR program requirements related to disaster and children and youth education. So I'm just going to select one parameter. Those are the causes that they want to volunteer at. And what this does, and that logo is kind of ugly, but you'd put the American Airlines logo there and you'd make sure it's the right size. But this is only pulling child and youth education and disaster opportunities from different nonprofit agencies that you partner with. So with that being said, this widget you can create a script for. It's basically just some code. You copy this code, you send it to the person at American Airlines, and as an example, they post this on their public site and can very quickly access the volunteer opportunities that they want to see, really, and that they're interested in. So everyone has different corporate pillars or different CSR program needs. Just showing you here, I've done that on a site called AtlantaCharitableSociety.org. This would be an example of one of your partners and you giving them this widget and them posting that logo and the widget on their site. So I can now hit apply, and that's going to open up that opportunity from your Volunteer Center site. So here's the step 1, 2, 3 opportunity. It's just a sample. And you can see only a volunteer can apply for this opportunity. I'm logged in as someone else. So one more time, just to review that. Opportunity widgets, you select the criteria, you create the appearance of the widget, the button colors, the background, the width and the height. You generate the script after you've saved your build criteria. So different people, different organizations will have different criteria that they want. And again, you do this for corporate partners, but I would also recommend doing it for most of the organizations that you're working with, and just select their organization. So that organization we were just looking at, this is only going to show freebies. It's the name of the organization. It's only going to show their opportunities that have been posted to this volunteer center. Okay, so that's an overview of Fundly Connect. There are also partner opportunities within the volunteer center's account. So you can obviously post on behalf of an organization or help manage the volunteer opportunity that the agency has posted. So remember, hospice help greeters. If I click that one, it's going to show me Mike Wayne. He is showing up here since he applied through the public site. So it's a shared information. What's nice is that the hours obviously roll up to the volunteer center. So I have 4 verified hours here for Mike Wayne. And I also have him listed in my database. And there's his 14 hours logged and the 7 opportunities he's worked. And he's got 2 opportunities awaiting approval. So the Volunteer Center has a lot of oversight in terms of what they can do. And obviously, creating your public site is a much easier process than it was on Hands-on Connect. We have inline editing. We have templatized this just like Hands-on Connect did. But we've made it easier to add text pages, add menu items. It's really designed for someone who doesn't need to be a web builder or an engineer to actually construct. So we do give you HTML source code, but in terms of creating text pages, inserting pictures, you can do all that. And then there's also different menu items that are out of the box, like the calendar is going to show your calendar. And organization lookup, for instance, there's my org lookup. And this will show a list of the partner organizations who are posting to the Volunteer Center site. So creating your site really should take no longer than 1 to 3 days. And as long as you have your content ready to go, this building of this site is really quite easy, and we've done that on purpose. We want this to be an easy process. Okay, I'm going to wait for another 5 minutes for any questions. I'll stay on the line. And while I'm doing that, I'll also show one other thing, which is our integration with our CRM platform. So if you're using Salesforce CRM today, or if you don't have a CRM, Fundly also offers a full donor management and really a lot of different modules that make up the CRM, such as acknowledgement sending and appeals and grant management. So I'm going to log into my CRM. Okay, so it looks very similar to Fundly Connect. And again, just going to show this for 2 minutes. I want to show the integration with Fundly Connect because the two systems talk to each other. You'll notice it looks exactly the same. We also have single sign-on to these products. So if I access my account, I can very easily, it's going to make me log in one more time. Let's see. I have a lot of different accounts that I log into, so sometimes the security makes me log out and then log back in. You'll notice I have the two products listed here under my account. If I click Fundly Connect, that opens up Fundly Connect. If I open up Fundly CRM, that opens up Fundly CRM. So within Fundly CRM, I'm going to open up a record. Nahir is his name. We looked at his record earlier in the volunteer system. And what I have here is a list of, and I'll zoom out real quick, a list of his activity with my organization. So these blocks represent information related to Nahir. And the last block that I have here is Fundly Connect information. So Fundly Connect sends over volunteer data into the CRM. It sends over the opportunity he applied for, the owner of the opportunity, what nonprofit agency it was with, and the number of hours that he worked that opportunity. So in this case, it's 0, but it sends that data over. And the value of that is, if you look at this record, you have a Nahir in Fundly Connect, but you also have a Nahir in the CRM. And in the CRM, you're tracking giving data, you're tracking engagement history, you're tracking event history, you're tracking a number of different things with your constituent relationship management in addition to Fundly Connect information. So the value of having an integrated platform is tailored marketing messaging and tailored segmentation to different groups of people. So I can come into my search, for instance, and say, you know what, I want to look at everyone who has verified volunteering hours greater than 10. And I want to look at people who are in the city of Atlanta, who are male, who have given over $100. Just an example. Okay, so I can create these unique queries that allow me to create pull lists of people and then tag people with certain, just tag people with certain tags. So I could have a tag for this guy that says he's a major gift prospect in Atlanta who volunteers a lot. So that is the platform in a nutshell. If you're interested more in Fundly Connect or Fundly CRM, there's a lot this can do for you, and I really appreciate your time today and look forward to chatting with you guys in the future. Thanks very much.